Hey guys, this is Colby. Today I'm going to show you how to make the top half of the Phase 1 Clone Trooper helmet that we made last time. And if you haven't watched my other videos on this series, they'd be really helpful. I think you should go watch them. Alright, so starting off, I'm going to make this a ridge here. I'm going to add a little depth to it. So select this section here, hold down Shift and select all the edges. Press E to extrude. I'm going to move it inward. And I'm going to grab this face here and move it back on the y-axis. And just make sure it's even. Really nice. Just try to match the thickness all around, making it even thickness. So that looks all right. So now, what I always like to do with modeling is start with the curves first and then model the straight sections later. So this section here, this curve, I think should be pretty much our priority right now. And I'm just going to focus on modeling the front half of the helmets, or the front top half, and then we'll do the back half later. But for now, let's just start with the front and this little arc right here. So go into edit mode, grab this edge here, press E to extrude, and maybe like, again, like right here. Doesn't have to be perfect. And maybe like one right here as well. And so basically these three edges here are going to branch out like that. Basically cover the top half of the helmets. And before you start making the rest of the curve here, just make sure to match it to the reference from front view. So grab these edges here and just kind of match them to align with the curvature of the helmets. So it's quite curved. It's more of like a sphere. So I'll grab this edge and extrude it over here to this point. We'll grab this one here. And to join these two, just press M to merge at last. And create one here as well. Merge these two. Move this like maybe like over here. And it's not covering the entire helmets. That's all right, because we can add edge loops to fix that later. So let's grab these three edges here. Move them on the x-axis till they're merging. It's looking kind of pointed right now, but that'll be fixed later. So we can go ahead and start making this more rounded. So let's add an edge loop right here and one right here to match basically this vertice to that one and this one to that one. Make sure they kind of line up a little bit. So what we're going to do is merge these two vertices. So at last, select these two, now Shift. We'll turn vertex mode and just select them both and merge them together. So now let's go ahead and make this a bit more rounded. So grab this edge, just move it forward a bit. Same here. And just kind of move them into position. Let's go into front view and make sure it's rounded. So basically this entire section should cover the front half of the top of the helmets. So it should cover pretty much the entire reference in front view. Just make sure it's even thickness. Like one right here. There we go. So now let's keep going back. And it's not covering the entire helmet just yet because it's very low poly, but later on we'll add the subdivision surface modifier to make it better and more curved. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. Let's just keep staying low poly and keep it simple. So that way it's easier to work with. So let's keep extruding back. So I'm going to grab this edge here and start with modeling this curved section here. And to help out, I'd recommend switching your front view to back. So that way we can start modeling the back section a little bit better. So grab your front view reference and move it pretty much this way. And now instead of modeling from front view, we're going to be modeling from back. So it's just complete opposite. So press 1 on your keyboard, or numpad I mean, and press 9 to flip it to back. And so it's in the way, so we need to move it pretty much like right here. Wherever this point stops, these edges, that's where the reference should stop. So let's move like right here. There we go. So now we can actually model the arc here. Sorry about that. So let's keep going back and just make sure that you kind of match essentially the faces that you've already created in the previous video. So there should be like a line right here, a line right here, pretty much right here. And just make sure to make these wrap around the back of the head and make them more curved. So go to back view, just move them like this. So this one should be aligned with this one. And this face, or this edge here, should be lined up with this one here. Like that. Actually, I was actually wrong. This one should actually be moved a bit more to the side. It's actually supposed to be more right here. Just make sure you know where each face is going, because if you don't know, if it doesn't make sense, it'll be kind of hard to work with. So this one should pretty much be right here. Just move these up a bit. Like right there. Looks pretty good so far. Let's grab this edge here and basically move it inward. So we're going to continue going this way on the x-axis. Let's press E to extrude and merge these two together. So there's like an extra edge here that'll be added later. So let's move this back on the y-axis to make it curve around the back of the head a bit better. This one here. Once we start adding in these faces, it'll start to make a little more sense. So we got that part out of the way. Let's start modeling this section here, the top half of this like earpiece. It's basically round, so that'll match with the faces where we created earlier. So I'm gonna grab this edge here, press E to extrude to this point, one here, and like one right there. Match them to the front view. So I'm gonna switch back to front view. Right here. Probably should have done this earlier, but sometimes I kind of mess up. But anyways, let's grab these edges here and extrude again sideways to match them to this piece here. Let's press E to extrude on the x-axis. Let's grab these vertices, merge these two. Let's move this back a bit, the reference, make it easier to see. All right, so let's grab these faces here, and move them sideways. So before we start working on this gray section, let's just keep making these arcs, because the gray section is basically like it has a little bit more depth to it, and it's like inward. It's not actually like a part of the rest of the helmet. It's like kind of inward a bit. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but let's just keep working back. So I'm gonna grab these two edges here, finish this arc. I'm gonna move this section here up a bit, match it to the reference. Just right here. Add an extra edge loop, maybe like right here, to kind of make it a bit more curved. Let's move these over here. Try to make this as like symmetrical as possible, so that way it rounds off perfectly. So it's doing right here and right there. And let's grab these two edges here and press right click and bridge edge loops, and that'll fill both of them perfectly. So we need to kind of make it a bit more smooth. So to kind of help smoothen things out, just go to your reference front view and back and just kind of cycle between them and just make sure that the points on your mesh kind of match up to the reference and follow a good line. They don't have to be perfect because sometimes, there's a little bit of a difference between the references. Just do your best and use your best judgment. Just, just keep working at it and we'll get there. Let's switch to back and just cycle between them. And just match them. Try to smooth them out. You can go to wireframe and just like kind of see. So this one should pretty much be right here. This one should maybe like be in the middle here. Just keep smoothing it out. That'll be it. So let's go ahead and fill this section here to this earpiece. So go to your edit mode and we have to add in a lot of new edge loops on this piece here. Something like one right here and down the middle. Add one wherever there's like another edge loop. So one right here. So it's one right here. Another one right here. Now let's go ahead and fill them in. So I'm gonna fill these two. Just holding down Shift, selecting both, and press F to fill. So one right here. So there's two triangles here. So in order to fix these triangles and not have them like that, we need to merge these two. Go ahead and get rid of the edge loops that are right here. So if you want to dissolve one, just hold down Shift and Alt, select one of these edge loops, right click and press dissolve. Now get rid of it. So that's what I did right here and here. So now we just merge these two together. Press M to merge at last. There we go. So now let's go ahead and work on the back of the helmets. Start creating some new faces. So I'm going to just select this edge here and just move it right there. I'm going to switch my front view to back view. It's already at back view right now. Kind of hard to see. So yeah, it's already at back view. That's all right. I'm gonna do one right here, right here. So now we just go ahead and fill these faces in to finish it off. I'm adding an edge loop like right here, so that way it just looks a little bit better and doesn't get too wide. Because if it's too wide like this, then you'll have to basically do that for the rest of the pieces here. So if it's like that, you just have to basically like grab this edge as well and move it that way, but you're not going to do that. Just create one. So we have to add an extra edge loop down this section here to match that, but it's not too big of a deal. Now let's do one for the side. So extrude again. Let's merge these two vertices and just do this for the rest of the piece. So extrude again, scale it down a little bit, and merge. Move this down a little bit. And try to make it curved. So this should basically merge with this piece here. Just press F to fill. So that's two edges right here. So merge these two. Press M to merge on both. And we'll go to back view later and fix all the smoothing problems, but for now, let's just merge them all together and we'll smooth them out later. So there's gonna be some triangles. That's all right. Gotta fix that. Let's press F to fill here. One here. So now, so to make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to dissolve this edge here, right here. So Shift Alt, right click on it, dissolve. It's just making things a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. So let's grab this edge and this one and press F to fill, because it's a quad. Let's smoothen it out. So go to the Smooth tool and left click and hold, and just move your mouse to the right to smoothen everything out. That looks a lot better. So the top of the helmet is looking pretty smooth so far, but there's some vertices that are kind of like rough, that need kind of moved. So I might move this one a little bit, like right here. Just try to cover the rest of the helmets. Make everything kind of even. So maybe like, it's really up to you. There's no perfect pattern. I just like to have it kind of even and thick, or even in thickness and everything. I don't want to over smoothen it, but that looks good so far. Maybe go to side view and just kind of check. So this one should kind of be more here. Just match it to your reference, and then you'll be good. It's low poly, but it's like overall still pretty smooth so far. Shouldn't really have any problems. So now, this is like one of the last steps for the helmets. We can go ahead and just finish off this gray area right here. So I'm gonna grab all these edges with one click. So hold down Shift, Alt. Once you're in edge mode, and select all these edges, press E to extrude. And let's move them inward a bit. On both axes, like Y and X. So I might just grab some by hand. So move these in. Make sure they're a good even thickness. Right here. Try to make it smooth. So this section here is kind of rough. So let's move this right about there. Here. That looks good. Let's grab these, move them inward a bit. We're just giving it this whole section just a little bit of depth. So that's what it does on the helmets. It basically like goes inward a little bit. We look at the reference. There's like a shadow here, which implies that it's like kind of inward a little bit. So we need to extrude inward. But I'm just grabbing these edges here and just kind of moving them by hands to make them even and thick. So this one should be moved back quite a bit. And this one here. Just, drag the vertices around. Looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and start filling in these faces now that we have matching edges. So go into edit mode again. So I'm going to merge this face, or this edge with this edge. So press F to fill this one to that one. You should start seeing a pattern here. So this one to that one. Basically, you're filling any faces that basically match, have angles that are basically matching. So now let's add some edge loops here, here, and here. Since there's like faces that need to be added. Since we added edges basically on this section here, we also need to add them here. Match them. So one right here, and like right here. And this face will essentially just like kind of go this way, and it'll extrude and wrap all the way around, and that'll make it easier to fill in the faces later on. We're just gonna fill in these faces here. So right here, and one final one right here. You could also do one right here. That's fine. So now let's go ahead and extrude this one all the way around. So I'm gonna grab this edge and extrude sideways. So right here, stop. And let's go to back view, move it on the x-axis to this point. Let's go back to side view, press E to extrude again. on the y-axis, go to front view, or back view I mean, move it right here. So it actually should be like more like here. And there's a little bit of complication here, but we can just kind of go over it real quick. So press E to merge. Just focus on the simpler sections first. Don't worry about this like confusion. So let's just merge these two. And we need to go ahead and merge these vertices together. So let's select these two, press M to merge it last. And there's like 2 extra edge loops that we have to add right here. But before I do that, I'm going to straighten this section out. Select these 2 edges, press S, then Y, and then 0. Make them straight, more even. And so now that kind of makes it a little bit less complicated. So let's add an edge loop right here, and one right here. Let's merge these 2 vertices, here and here, and this one as well. And just go back and kind of merge all these vertices to their respective ones. Looks good. So this section here is actually not really supposed to like stick out. So this face in here, just press S and then Y to straighten it out. And just kind of rotate it a little bit on the x-axis to make it smooth. This shouldn't really be out that too much. Looks pretty good. Just kind of move it up a bit. There we go. So it's kind of pointing inward a little bit too much towards the center of the helmet. So it should actually be a little bit more straightening up to line up with this top piece here. Maybe move it back a bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Just move this in, just make it straighter. Shouldn't be super noticeable. All right, so let's continue filling in these faces. Let's press F to fill. Let's grab this edge and this one here. Make sure you're selecting one that's like more on the inside rather than the outside. So it shouldn't be this one and this one. So it should actually be the other way. So this one and this one. So since we added an extra edge up right here, we need to add another one right here and here. So let's press F to fill in these faces here. F to fill. Add an edge up right here. One right here. And just keep filling in those faces. There we go. So we need to smoothen it out a bit. So I'm going to go to side view and just kind of drag some of these edges back a bit. I'm going to turn on proportional editing. So click this button here. And this will basically allow me to control more section of the mesh with basically like a scroll wheel. If you scroll up and down, it'll change the amount of like power it has. So I'm gonna move it, kind of go not too high up, but just a little bit much, a little bit. So I'm gonna grab these vertex faces here, smooth them out. So the smooth tool. It's almost done. Just smoothing this section out, and move it back a little bit. Maybe move the section out a little bit. Just try to smoothen the area out as best as you can. That looks pretty good. So we're almost done with the helmets. Now all we need to do is just add this little bottom piece here. It's pretty easy to add since we have everything else. So select this whole bottom section, Shift Alt in edge mode, and press E to extrude inward. Scale it down a little bit, and turn off proportional editing, like that. Let's move it down, right about here. Scale in the waxes, just kind of match it. I'm going to drag some of these manually. So this section should be more right here. It should be up a bit to match the reference better. Let's move these down a tiny bits. Try to make it really nice and slick and smooth. So let's grab these, move it up a bit. I'm going to smoothen the whole section out. So smooth tool just a tad bit. And there we go. So this should kind of be moved inward a bit more. Same as this. Let's press E to extrude inward and merge these two vertices. I might get rid of this face. No, that looks better. So now we're ready to add our modifiers, our subdivision and our solidify modifier. And that'll smoothen everything out and make it look a lot better. So let's add our subdivision surface modifier. Let's add subdivision. And there's a little bit of problems here. Something I overlooked. So these two should actually be merged. That fixes that. That's it. So there's still some problems. Since we added so many extra edge loops like in this section here and right here, that's kind of creating these like little sharp lines on the edge. It's like too smooth, too sharp. They're too close together. So we need to drag these edges, press GG, then edge slide. Just kind of spread them out a bit better. Just kind of press GG on all of them and just spread them out. That'll make it look a bit better and break up those sharp lines. Just move them around a bit. It's still looking kind of rough. Just keep dragging them around so it looks good. So most of the sharp lines are gone. I'll see you here in a second. Alright, so once you kind of have it smoothened out with the smooth tool, you just drag its faces and just smooth them out. But anyway, since we added the subdivision surface modifier, now our mesh is kind of like, it looks a bit small on the top. It's like not covering the entire reference. To fix that, you can simply just drag one of these edges here and just move them. Ignore like the wires or the black lines, but pay attention more to the mesh itself and just kind of match them to the reference. You can go to side view, just kind of make sure it's covering the entire mesh. Smoothing everything out. There we go. Alright, so now we're pretty much on the last step of the helmets. Since we have everything kind of smooth, we need to sharpen some things up. So this section here should be sharp. The front of the mask should be pretty sharp, like these corners here, and like right here. And this section here should also have a little bit of like a nice line. So let's go ahead and start adding some edge loops to sharpen everything up. So press Ctrl R right here. One right here. Maybe like another one right there. And maybe like one right here as well. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna kind of move these a little bit apart just to make them not so sharp, because they're kind of like noticeable right here. Whenever you like do that, there's like this clear line, but if you just kind of make them split them up a bit, looks better. So there we go. If you're not able to add an edge loop like right here, or maybe like one right here, that's all right. You can just delete this face, these sections here, and just kind of redo it. So basically what I did is I basically created a quadra here. Grab these two edges, fill them in, and just make sure this entire section is quads and not triangles. So quads are basically faces with 4 vertices, and triangles are faces with 3 vertices. And you want to aim for quads in most cases, because it makes it easier to work with. There we go. So I'm gonna add some edge loops, like one right here. Sharpen that little piece out. It looks pretty good so far. Maybe like one right here. Right here, I mean. If you have any sharp lines, like maybe like one. If you have something kind of like this, that sort of just looks kind of weird or noticeable, like this section should be flats. There's two edges that are like this, and they're kind of close together. If you see something like this, like a line, you can just smoothen it out. Just drag it, split the edges, and move them up with edge slide, and kind of smoothen everything out. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below, and I'll try to answer them. And I'm sorry that this wasn't the final video of the series. I thought I could actually finish it all in one video, but I think I should like do the attachments and everything in the next video. And kind of finish off the helmet in another video, because today was quite a bit for me. But anyways, I hope you all guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all guys next time.